Hello, everyone. I was chatting with a genealogy colleague this morning about family patterns, and we also talked about the recent episode of Who Do You Think You Are, where they talked about that. Inherited family trauma, multi-generational trauma, transgenerational trauma, epigenetics, whatever label you want to put on this. It's basically these toxic or traumatic events that happened to our ancestors that they didn't process. Maybe they didn't have the tools that get passed down through the generations. And especially on shows like Who Do You Think You Are, everything gets bundled up and wrapped up within a 60-minute time period. So there's not a lot of time to really go in and explain some of the way these patterns show up. But I'm wondering, for those of you who are not just skimming the surface of your family history, your family stories, your personal experiences, are you noticing that sometimes the family patterns don't go down every single generation? Sometimes they skip a generation. Now, I've recently discovered this example again in my own family history, that there is this inability to say goodbye because when someone dies, something else is happening and you aren't there to say goodbye. And I actually made a video about this and wrote a blog post about it at the Ancestral Souls Wisdom School yesterday. But that pattern seems to be skipping a generation. And it kind of focuses on the women in the family, not so much the men, although you could flip it and you could look at it from the man's perspective, which I think is important, looking at the family history from multiple different perspectives. You have the records, you have the stories, you talk to and ask a lot of questions of the people that are still alive, and then you look at your own experiences so that you gather all these perspectives, all of this information, and can look at it from these different ways. Now, when we do that, we start to really go down the rabbit hole of what has taken place in our family's history, right? And then we can more clearly see, if we're willing to receive that information, just where these beliefs, behaviors, patterns, and traumas keep getting stuck, keep getting passed down. And then, who is the person that is responsible to heal all of that? Well, for a lot of people who are doing military or genealogical research, or they're on their own spiritual path and they haven't really started their genealogy research, it's up to us. We are the family healers, right? Sometimes it takes noticing these different family patterns, however they show up, and acknowledging and saying, you know what, I'm going to find the closure because that pattern just happened to me. So the saying goodbye, not getting to say goodbye, not having that closure, did happen to me this year. And it was a very long, drawn-out process for 2.5 years, actually. However, I am now aware that as soon as I finish my book, Soul Traveler, and get that published by the end of the year, that is my target, I will not only have found the closure and healing within myself and forgiven this person that passed away for all the things that happened during our relationship, but also heal my ancestral lineage. If you're interested in learning how to do this, or you want some support in figuring this out, looking into this rabbit hole of your family, identifying these beliefs, behaviors, and patterns that really no longer serve you and need to be healed and released, I have a couple different options. I'll post links below. One, I have a Genogram session. It's a private session, and we start to map out your family tree, and I ask a lot of questions, and we start to look for these different beliefs, behaviors, and patterns. The other is an Introduction to Genograms webinar where you get the basics and start to move into, how do I create my own genogram? I'll put the links with this video if you are interested. But I would love to know, what is showing up for you in your family history? Do these patterns get passed down every generation? Are there some that skip a generation? Are there some that skip 2 generations and show up again? I'd love to know. Please share in the comments.